Hello. Hello, 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 everyone. How is everyone doing? Let's see, it's telling me it's having a little trouble playing this video. Let's see, can you see me? Is it going to be one of those days? It might be. Has it been a little bit of that kind of week for folks out there, or is it just me? So I'm not seeing myself. So I have no idea if anyone else can see me. So if you are out there, I'm here because Shelly's here and Shelly has just said hello. Hello, B. Hello, welcome. So can you see me? That is the question I have for you today. Hi, Wendy. Oh, it's so great to see folks. Welcome, welcome, welcome. So let me know if you can see me. That would be great if you can. I might have to call my IT help up here in a moment just to see if there's anything else I can do. How are folks doing out there? How are people doing? Another interesting week. Oh my. Messages, dings, exciting things happening. Oh, that's good. So people can see me and hear me. That's lovely. And Claudia, oh, hello, hello, hello. Welcome to the live stream, everybody. So this is fantastic. Okay, so the tech weirdness has not been just about me. Okay, that's lovely. Hey, Teresa. Oh, welcome. That is so great. Thank you. Well, that's an exciting way to start a live stream, right? Look at my community of tech people out there. Thanks so much for making me feel comfy. Yeah, it has been a bit of a week that way with technical stuff. Oh, well, thank you. The little compliment coming from B about my hair. You know, when you can't control much, you can control your own hair. You can control your own look somehow. So whether you're drawing on yourself or getting a haircut or trying something new with your nails, whatever works, right? Whatever helps us get through the day, have our best day, whatever that looks like. As long as you're taking care of yourself, loving yourself, go for it, right? I'm just going to switch over here so I can see things a little bit differently. Let's see. So how has everyone else's week out there? We know Bee's been having some technical stuff. For folks who are watching, if you're watching for the first time, this is a little live stream we do on the Living Room Community Art Studios Facebook page. Since we can't gather and connect with one another in person, we've been taking time to connect and create with one another this way. And it's just really lovely. I've really been enjoying it. And every Wednesday we have this time for an hour and a half where we can hang out. You're welcome to make art with me if you like. If you're not feeling up to making art or getting creative, you can do whatever feels right to you. So that might look like, well, having us on in the background and doing laundry or organizing your shelves or knitting or, well, that's a creative thing. What am I talking about? You might be cooking. You might be doing lots of different things. And there we go. Yeah, we just check in with one another about how our week's been. Shelly, I'm sorry you've had a rough week. I don't think you're alone there. It's an interesting, well, every week. I feel like every week I say it's been an interesting week. But these are strange times. So today, let's take some time to connect. Let's take some time to care for ourselves, whether you're making art or doing something else. Take a moment to breathe. Take a moment to just breathe. And even if it is only one moment, let's say a moment where you find some stillness and you sit down, if stillness is what you need, take a moment. Feel the earth under you, feel the floor under you, feel your chair underneath you, feel it supporting you, being there for you. Let the earth hold the weight of your body. Let the art hold the hard stuff. And maybe if stillness isn't what you need, then let's get active, right? That's a great opportunity to make art, do some scribbling, get the frustrations out, maybe make a collage or try something you've never tried before with whatever materials you might have at hand. Perhaps, art making isn't your thing, but you still want to feel active, then maybe that's where you can use this time to hang out with us and maybe cross something off your to-do list. Do something, just a little bit of something that'll help you feel on top of stuff, that'll help you feel, okay, I've done it. I've done something. Because sometimes just that active feeling, moving yourself forward even just a little bit in your day, can be the thing that shakes things up enough, shifts you out of one place into another kind of better feeling place. Does that make sense? Yeah? Oh, some food issues for Shelley. You know what? So many of us, and myself included, have our own issues with food. There can be so many different things attached to that, right? Depending on what that is, just again, take some of this time to, if you'd like to use this time to reflect as well. I know there's a lot of folks out there who journal, who do things like that. And if you can use this time to help process some of the things you've been going through this week, you are welcome to do that as well. Now, as you may notice, hey, Laura, so great to see you there. Look, see, we have a lovely community of folks gathering together here online. Some people are new faces, new names, familiar friends, and coordinators and volunteers who are joining us. If you'd like to join in the chat, please know that they're there to say hi. If you'd like to introduce yourself to someone, please feel free. It's kind of just like if we were at the studio. For those of you who've been in the physical studio space, maybe let's say I'm at the back of the studio washing coffee mugs. Someone at the some folks living or staying at the front can welcome you. They can say hi, they can greet you. And that's how we do things here. The people who are in the chat can welcome people to say hello and check in. Feel free to let them know how you're doing and if there's anything you need. And if you're not feeling confident in joining the chat and you'd prefer just to feel a little, just in your own space, that's okay too. There's no pressure to join in the conversation. But it's so great to see folks. Laura, it's so great to see you too. This time has meant that we've been spread apart. We've not seen one another. Many of us anyways haven't seen one another in a very long time because people are taking care of themselves as best they can, doing what they need to do to navigate these strange and interesting times. Oh, Dan, welcome back, Dan. Good to see you. Dan, Laura's here. Okay. Yeah, there's lots of fantastic things that we can create today together with one another or on your own. Use this time for what you need. Do what you need to do to help feel better, to help feel creative, to help feel inspired, or just to take a break and take that breath. Do what you need to do. I'm not the boss of you. All right, shall we get into some art making? I've been trying to think of, there's so many interesting things going on, folks. Oh my goodness, so many things, but where can I start? Well, let's start. I've got poetry on the brain, okay? So let me do a little switch over so we can get focused on the art here. So for those of you who've been hanging out with the living room, with the virtual studio, near the beginning of the pandemic, I created this little weird journal. And I've been slowly filling it in every once in a while, adding a few more things, maybe adding some color, just doodling. And the goal of this was to kind of fill it out with with poetry or things that might inspire me to move to the next step, which is spoken word. It's something I've always wanted to dip my toes into, but still just poetry. And so I'd like to create a little bit more cutout poetry today in my little handmade journal. And I'd like to invite you folks out there to contribute to the creation of a poem about this space, about the time we spend together virtually. I know that sounds weird. So if you're not, if you don't feel up to joining me in that, that's okay. But I'd love to hear what you folks think. And the reason I'm asking this is because we've been invited to participate in a kind of celebration of virtual art hives that is happening this Friday, I believe, through the International Art Hives Network. And all the virtual hives will be gathering to share a little bit of, what they've been doing during this time, how they've been doing. And I was trying to think, well, what would represent what happens here in this time we spend with one another? What could I possibly bring to that experience to capture this? And I could hold up some of the art that I've made. I could talk about the kind of community creation we experience with one another. All of that is possible, but I thought I'd like to actually bring some art to the experience. And we haven't really created anything together yet. So today's a bit of an experiment. As we're going along, I'll touch base throughout, as we go. But I invite you to consider, if you were to finish off this thought, this space is ... Or this space gives me ... Hello, Ellen. welcome. Oh, yes. I'm a very expressive person. My hands are definitely a part of the way I mean, it's all connected, isn't it? So consider this hand dancing. It's a little bit of hand dancing. But yes, okay, back to what I was thinking. So I invite you to complete this thought in your own way, to create your own poetry about this space that we co-create together. Because it's not just about me, it's about everyone who comes together, everyone who watches, everyone who listens, everyone who participates in the chat and says hello and welcomes one another, shares their heart in this time we have together. So what would you like to add into the poem? Now you can share it in the chat as we go. You can also post it afterwards. I'll post another sort of follow-up to our live stream today where we can share lines to the poetry. Yes, thank you, B. So B's just posted what I'm chatting about there. So if you could fill in the blanks with us here, we can create some sort of poem together. And feel free to improvise. Feel free to get excited and, you know, let me know what you're thinking. But a good place to start is this space gives me, this space gives us. Or how about this? In this space, I am ... In this space, I am ... Let's see what we can do with that. Yeah? And then we can share whatever we create on Friday. I'll read it out to everyone. And yeah, I'll have to learn a little bit more about what the event actually looks like and how many people I can bring, if I can bring anyone else. But if you folks can help me with the creation of that, I would be so very grateful. Yeah, so here, I'm gonna get, what do I have here? I'm gonna get going on my little cutout poetry pieces here. And again, if you're not up to doing that and participating in that, you don't have to. You do not have to. But I'd love to know what people think. And maybe write your own poem and you would like me to share that as well. That's okay too. So what do we have here? I don't know, how many of you folks have made cutout poetry before? Yeah, raise a hand. I love cutout poetry. There's lots of different ways to do it. This space is my community connection. Wendy, thank you. It's coming in. The poetry is beginning to come in. So I'm just going to keep babbling and chatting. So feel free to type in what your thoughts are. And after today, I'll go through all the chat and I'll kind of collect all the bits and pieces and I'll put it together. And I'll share it with you folks too. So exciting. Oh, wow. Oh my goodness. Oh, I'm going to cry. Let's see. Yes. So cutout poetry. Cutout poetry. Sometimes you can also use blackout poetry where you take a page from a book or pages from magazines and you just snip out bits and pieces or block out bits and pieces that you don't want to create your own work of art, your own poem from those other pieces, those orphaned pieces. So over time, I cut out little bits and pieces from old books that I'm repurposing or recycling. I take little bits and pieces from magazines. It's kind of like, or magnetic poetry. That's another area that crosses over, has a lot of crossover. Oh yes, cutout poetry. Yeah, B's done some, that doesn't surprise me, B. It doesn't surprise me that you've done cutout poetry. B and I had a fantastic conversation on Tuesday for those folks. If you've, I don't know if you keep up with our live stream artist chats on every Tuesday on Instagram at 2 p.m. We were chatting about a whole bunch of different things, but zine making was one of the topics. And I think I was first introduced to cutout poetry through zine making and through the zines that I appreciated. And I do like that you can create something pretty cool without having, it's almost like a little tiny, tiny shortcut in your brain. It stops you from focusing on things that maybe aren't as important. And you just spend time rearranging the words or the phrases in ways that make sense to you. One of the things I love about collage as well, it's kind of trusting yourself in that creative process. Let's see. Yeah. Here come the sound effects, folks. Yeah. Blurred over with ceaseless activity. That's kind of how I feel during this time, pandemic times. I feel like there's a certain kind of constant activity that's happening inside my head. I don't know about you, but I feel constantly busy even though I'm not always active or occupied in the same way I was back in so-called normal times. I don't know. Does anyone else feel that way? So yeah, chatting with B, talking about zine making, resilience was a huge theme in that conversation. And what resilience is and where it comes from and how we do it. How do we do resilience? It's not a magical thing. It's a kind of a work in progress. I love how B describes it at one point in relation to into your own journey, B. And you can add on to this, B, because you're here. That sense of choosing to build things up in your own life, choosing, like having that awareness of using things to move forward, giving yourself the time that you need to take care of yourself. Yes, like that self-care is so important with that resilient journey, because if you're not able to take care of yourself, well, we have to take care of ourselves. We just have to, folks. Sometimes that taking care of ourselves means saying no to other things. Sometimes that self-care means fighting a little bit, using resistance to hold on to what we need, or what we know we will need in the future. And Ellen, let's see. Ellen, thank you. Thank you so much for contributing, folks. Ellen says, maybe it's because we are occupying virtual spaces more than ever for connection. Yeah, I know. There's always new information coming in. So it's hard to feel still, even though we might physically be more still. At least in my experience, Ellen says. Yes, that's a large part of it, I think. I think we take for granted that virtual connection may not be the same as physical connection. And I found that virtual connection, at least for myself, takes as much energy as the physical connection I used to do, except I'm not as practiced at it. The muscles haven't strengthened in the same way. It feels more focused and more pointed, and I feel much more present here when I'm sitting with you folks than at the studio when I'm allowed to get distracted and perhaps rely on other people who are around me to fill in the gaps. Hey, Sandra, welcome. And Wendy contributing to the poem. Oh, this space gives me permission to be me, Wendy says. Ha ha. Okay, little crying break. Whew. And Sandra, and for anyone else who's just joined, we are creating a poem together too. So as I chat, as I create, as I do my thing, and I am excited about making some touchstones as well, and some materials I found at the studio. I want to, if you want, I invite you to take part in creating a poem that I can share with the folks at the International Art Hive's celebration of virtual creative spaces. So if you can fill in the blanks here, that would be great. This space gives me, or in this space I am, or whatever, however you'd like to contribute, however you'd like to describe this time that we share together. And it doesn't always need to be super happy either. I know there are a lot of complicated things out there, and we're all experiencing our own versions of, well, the stress and the kind of anxiety that I think is pretty normal during times like these. How can you say normal during something you've never experienced before? I don't know. But please feel free to share, and we'll put it together in a kind of poem, a collective co-creation that I can share this Friday with the International Art Hives folks. And be catching us up on, that conversation about resilience that we had. B says, yeah, resilience is not just bouncing back, it's building routines, building relationships, building coping strategies, and building community. That is awesome. And okay, I'll add that to the list of things I might get tattooed on myself one day. And I see that comment too, be the Public Crying League. Yeah, we've had conversations about that too. We keep planning to create a Public Crying League, kind of like a club where maybe we can all have like satin jackets or something, I don't know, or like badges that we wear that just kind of let people know we believe in crying in public. Crying in public is awesome. And yeah, so there you go. Just for the record, cry if you need to, wherever you might be. And I am still working on that. I'd love to embroider a patch. Let's see. Oh, I think I need to change this one. Let's see. And the other thing is, folks are working on the poem as you're arriving, as you're settling in, or doing whatever you need to do. If there are things you're working on that you'd like to share, please feel free. Post pictures, you can describe what you're working on. I know Sandra was working on some lovely crocheted stuff the last time I chatted. Oh, and Sandra has, let's see. And Laura, okay, oh, excellent. So catching up with the comments, Laura says that would be awesome about the Public Crying League. Well, there we go. The numbers are growing. We're growing. We're making this a thing. It will be an actual thing. And Sandra contributing to the poem. The space has given me a purpose and the freedom to be creative. You folks, what an incredible creative community we have here. Although, yes, when I talk about this space, I'm talking about you. I'm talking about the willingness and the generosity and taking that risk, that kind of creative risk, to be available to something, to participate in something. And so when we talk about this space, I want you, each one of you, to recognize that you're talking about yourselves. I know that's really super artsy-fartsy, but that's one of the things that happens here. Because without you, this would, it would be some weird art lady talking to herself. And I can't do that on my own. It wouldn't sustain itself. This sustains itself because of everyone coming together. So as you're sharing these pieces, as you're reading these pieces, even if you're not necessarily joining in the chat, your presence here, watching this, even if you watch later on when it's archived, you're still a part of that creative energy. So please remember that. This poem is about you. It's about us, as much as we're calling it, saying that it's about this space. We create the space. We are the space. Oh, wow. And Emily joining in. Hello, Emily. Oh, okay. So Emily says, this community is so beautiful. Every time I come on here, I am so blown away. I couldn't agree more, Emily. I could not agree more. And Dan joining in with, oh, thank you, Dan. This space replaces my worry with hope. I agree. Yep. Yep. I was talking earlier to someone about gratitude. And as difficult as this time is for so many of us in so many ways, I am so grateful for this community, for this time, for all the future times that we'll create and make with one another. Because this is just the beginning of something really special. And B says, same. So I think this might be, in response maybe to Dan, maybe to Emily as well. It's an incredible feeling to see all the folks giving of themselves to create together. Yeah. Oh, and Emily says, I'm watching from my chair in the sun at Fitzroy Provincial Park. Now, I've never been to Fitzroy Provincial Park. That sounds exotic. But being outside, and that's it. If you are somewhere where you can step outside or take your device outside to get some air, open a window, please do. It is a beautiful day, at least here in Oshawa. It is a beautiful, beautiful September day. It is a beautiful day. Taking the time to appreciate that is also super important if you can. Well, even appreciate the days that kind of suck. That's important too. Let's see. What do I have here? And I'm so excited that folks are contributing to this poem. Thank you so much. And Sandra, so Emily, so Fitzroy Provincial Park on the Ottawa River. Say hello to Ottawa for us. And Sandra sitting on your front porch. Oh, that's lovely. And because Sandra, I've seen that front porch in our Friday morning coffee catch-ups. Reminder, everyone, there's another Friday morning coffee catch-up tomorrow with Michelle and Nikki in our coffee catch-up Facebook group. It's like a room, so sort of Zoom-style experience where you can take some time and actually see one another and chat with one another. And usually Michelle and Nikki, they're awesome. They have a theme to sort of help start the conversation that everyone can vote on. So make sure to visit that group page if you'd like to join. Feel free, and you can take part in a Zoom. But yeah, from that, I've been able to see people and little windows into people's worlds, which is lovely. So I know that porch. I have a feeling of sitting there right with you, Sandra, just sitting there on that porch with you. I can feel that. I hope the sun is shining where you are too, though. Let's see. And that's the other thing too, and feel free, folks, to comment on this if you've been, part of the live streams for a while. I'm also amazed by, well, just how our community has expanded. So there are folks joining us from a lot of different places in the world, and we've got to know people that we wouldn't otherwise have had the opportunity to connect with. I may not know what they look like, but I have a sense of their voice and how they contribute to this space together. And B says, I was out on my balcony for a bit, but the wind was trying to steal your sketchbook. Oh, that's true. Yeah, if I was working on something like this outside today, it would just, not a good day to work on cutout poetry outside, I think. But a beautiful day to do a lot of other things. So thank you, folks, again for being here instead of being outside. I appreciate that. And Sandra saying, I wish you were here. Sandra, I send big hugs and hellos. Big hugs and hellos. And it's kind of like we are. It's kind of like we are all together when we're here. A little bit. At least it feels that way for me. And again, this would be a waspy season at the studio. Now I have to explain that because that sounds... No, I don't mean that in the sense of, okay, what I mean is like literal wasps, because we keep the doors open at the studio. And this is that time of year where all the wasps want to come in and get at our coffee. So I am enjoying the fact that I'm not being harassed by wasps. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. I'm going to get myself into trouble here. That wouldn't be a new thing. Oh, okay. Poem taking a slightly, I don't know. What do we have here? So these were bits and pieces I've been hanging on to for a while. And I've never arranged them in quite this way before. Let's see how it feels. Okay. Let's see. Oh, maybe I do want that piece. Oh, moment of discovery. Let's see. Do not know what this means, but it's something. Okay, how do we feel about this poem, folks? Oh, and let's see, before I read the poem, B says, I'm on the 3rd floor, so I get lovely breezes every day. Beautiful. Like coming to the live stream and feeling like y'all are sitting at my desk with me. That's a lovely thing. I wonder if maybe that's what I'll contribute to that poem, that sense of knowing that while we spend this time together, I can imagine. I can imagine a little piece of you here with me, and I can imagine a little piece of me with you there. There is that sense of, it's a different kind of connection, but it's still connection all the same. And be welcoming Ellen. It's lovely. And if there are folks, because I'm wondering, there's some folks that maybe I haven't seen in a long time, please catch me up on where you're at. There's some folks here that maybe I've not met. So if you're new to the living room and you feel comfortable and feel like introducing yourself, please feel free. We love meeting new community members. We love learning about what people create, how they create, why they create. Oh, lovely. And Laura's saying, feeling the same way, Bridget, working from the kitchen table now, feeling like I'm back at the living room, having a conversation with you all. Yep. That's what we hope. And I love that. I love if that's the case. And for those of you who are familiar with the space, you can have a really immersive experience taking yourself back there. For those who aren't, I'd love to know what the version of the living room community art studio is that you have. That would be a really fun project to see how people imagine this space together. So let's see. Let's see what we have here. So this poem, we both lived with our own ghosts, blurred over with ceaseless activity, the difficulties, the building of a concept. Give back that love, a similar feeling in past, willingly falling into ruin. One does not forget. I'm a poet and I didn't even know it. Okay, I'm gonna glue that down. Yeah, I'll take that. What I do love about cutout poetry, even though what's created, it may not be the final piece. I often return to those weird little poems that came out of the collaging, and I steal bits to create other works. So they kind of act like a scrapbook for me, a sketchbook, where I can compile ideas. That glue stick is not very sticky. Glue stick? You're disappointing me. I'm going to see if I can dig up another glue stick. Let's see. There's something, when you use an art supply and it just doesn't work the way you want it to, it's kind of like it's a disappointment. It's a physical kind of like, Oh, thank you, B. My rave reviews coming in for my cutout poetry. But I do really honestly use them as places to go back to get inspiration from. There might be a piece of this that I read later on and it speaks to me in a completely new way. Just like an artist having their sketchbook or their own journal. You never know where the ideas are going to come from. I think giving yourself the chance to put them down so that you can revisit them. What a lovely little luxury, a simple luxury that all of us can do no matter what resources we have on hand. I'd love to know how other people store their ideas as well. Sketchbooks and journals and things like that are one thing. If there are any fiber artists out there, and I know there are, anyone who works with other forms of creative self-expression, how do you store your ideas? How do you stash away those little ideas, those beautiful little bits and pieces that you might revisit and make use of later on? I had a friend who was a filmmaker, and they had a little conversation journal where they'd be in, if they're out somewhere at a cafe or, just people watching and they heard, bits of conversations or phrases or things like that, they might write them down, store them, and interesting words. Just the way people, just the way we human, right? Just finding a way to capture that. And a lot of those little tiny things would weave their way into their scripts. Hey, Lottie, welcome! Lottie, so great to see you. How are things over where you are at in the UK? How's school? How is school? So excited to see you here. Let's see. And B saying, B gets that feeling, we're talking about the disappointing art supplies. Disappointing art supplies. A glue stick that isn't sticky, a marker that doesn't mark. You make do with what you have. Nothing wrong with that. Let's see. So B says, I get that feeling with the disappointing art supply. This one fine point pen I picked up not so long ago had such high hopes, and the tip is not as fine or as sharp as you had hoped. I hate that feeling. Nye! Hello, Nye. How you doing? Welcome. Welcome, welcome, welcome. And for folks who might be joining us midstream or joining the chat midstream, welcome. Welcome to the Living Room Community Art Studio virtual space. We're having some fun today. I've also invited everyone to contribute to the creation of a poem that I will be sharing with the International Art Hives folks about what this space means to you. So if folks feel comfortable doing so, feel free to add your thought into the chat. Just type it in there, or you can message it to me later if you like. But we're filling in the blanks here. So this space is ... or in this space I am ... or however you'd like to contribute. This space looks like, this space feels like. You can answer those questions a million different ways. So please feel free to contribute to the poem, and I will compile all those beautiful thoughts and we will share it with folks on Friday. And I'll share it with you too. And Wendy says, I store some bits and pieces in folders under headings, poems, seasons. Oh, I love that. So is this one big beautiful journal and one book, like one big binder you have? I do love that idea. Taking some time to save a moment, to take the fragments from various moments that we experience, savor them. Maybe even when we don't understand them, maybe it's just about, I don't know what this means, but there's something about it that I like, storing it. So you take that time to categorize it. Wendy, you are organized. I love that. And Shelley says, in this space, I can be myself. That's lovely. And that again, we co-create that with one another, so thank you. And all of these things so far are resonating with me. Thank you, thank you, thank you. All right. And even though I've invited you to contribute to this poem, if you don't feel like you wanna, that's okay. You don't have to. And B says, for the fiber arts, okay, interesting. For the fiber arts, I have a big old container for my fabrics and a map roll. Oh yeah, a map roll case for other fabric, a folio arranged, wow, by size for completed cross stitch and embroidery, which contains little bags for small pieces or Ziploc bags for partial projects. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Let's see. Toolboxes and tackle boxes for your threads, all on spools labeled with their color numbers. Okay, now that's organized. I need to be taking some lessons from you folks about keeping art supplies organized. I'm hopeful that I'll have some time over the winter to do that with some of the materials I have here, but we'll see. Wow. Wow. Amazing. Amazing. Okay, I'm going to put this aside and I'm going to get going on my touchstones. But continue, please, continue to share what you're working on. If you'd like to contribute to the poem, you're welcome to. Let's see. I'm just going to putter with these. So these are just some glass blobs that we have going on. Oh, good, Laura. Laura's saying I have very unorganized stacked milk crates. That's more like it. That's my kind of organization. As long as it's in a basket or some kind of container, I'm happy. And sometimes they don't make it into the containers. That's just me. And B says the rest of my art supplies are the rest of B's supplies are a hot mess though. Okay, so we're all human. I love that. That's an interesting conversation too. Where do we take care to store, to organize, and what are the things that we're okay letting just like doing their own thing wherever they might do it? Maybe it's a bit telling. I don't know, maybe it's not. So I've gathered some of these glass blobs. You can find these at various places. The dollar store, I think you can get tiny ones. Sometimes you can find these large ones as well. And I think these ones, where did we find these? I mean, we might have found these at a craft store, maybe Michael's, some such place like that. They're often used in floral arrangements, I find. I don't know why exactly, but they're often in those sections, wherever that might be. So you might be able to find them at other supply stores as well. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to take some time to create backings for these with different words that inspire me, give me comfort. I think I'm going to be drawing some words from the chat that we are having along the side here about what this space is like. So these touchstones will then remind me of this space when I'm not necessarily in this space sharing it with you. And Nye, let's see, oh, Nye. Oh, wow. In this space, My brain rests. Buzz, buzz, she goes, like a bee jumping from flower to flower. Let's see. Click, see more, Mary. Click. My brain refuses to rest, refuses to settle. Here in this place, my brain rests, happy to be consumed by art, by pleasure of creating. About your ADHD, Vinay says, wow, 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 Nai. Wow. Going to take a bit of a breath to be with that one. And B, I agree. That is wonderful, Nai. Wow. Whew. Whew, indeed. And Lottie, so yes, Lottie, back to school, just started uni, had my first day last Tuesday. The course doesn't properly start until next week. Okay, so at the minute, it's just some casual writing so the tutors can see what they're working with and finding out each other's style. I've gotten over several fears. Oh, excellent, such as traveling to a city on your own. Got over my fears of doing video meetings. Nice. And speaking during said meeting. My fear of speaking over the phone is a work in progress. I hear you. It's interesting. I'm not so fond of phone myself, to tell you the truth. I also stepped out of my comfort zone and wrote a piece. Oh, a piece about a difficult event that happened in your life. And it got put in a chat book with everyone else's work, which felt amazing. Congratulations. Lottie, is that something that everyone can find? Is the chat book open? Is it available to folks? Can we order one? View it? I'd love to see some more of your work. That would be amazing. And congratulations. Congratulations. That's amazing. So many amazing things in that one section there. And let's see. And Shelley, oh, back to storage conversation. My apartment storage is just art storage, and it's all labeled now. Congratulations, that's also an incredible feat. And your dining room area is your craft room. I think we all need it. And Lottie showing some love for Nai's work as well there. Writers unite, right? That you know, it's something that doesn't always happen in the Hive because we tend to focus on visual art creation, things that have that visual concrete representation. Writing is a little more abstract. Writing takes a little more time. Writing isn't something that necessarily that we feel comfortable sharing along the way. But I love that here we can type things out. We can put links to blogs or vlogs or Tumblrs or whatever we might have. And Lottie saying, I think it's just been shared with us as a class, but I'm sure I can send a screenshot over. Yes, please, if you feel comfortable with that. How does everyone else feel about that? And again, I encourage folks, if you have links to those other sites that you have or to work that you've shared or accomplished or created or had published or exhibited, and you want to shine a light on that, please feel free to share the links here. Let's shine a light on what you're doing and spread the word. Grow your audience. Build those relationships with other creative people who get it, who care. And yeah, that's an amazing thing. And it has been, I applaud like everyone who's out there going back to school, teaching at school, learning how to communicate in new ways. I don't think you're alone, Lottie. I think every student that I've connected with seems to have, we're asking a lot of ourselves these days. And people going to work, going back to work. There's a lot of new things that our brains are getting used to. And engagement. Like I think we were mentioning at the beginning, I think it was chatting with Ellen, that sense of this kind of connection, virtual communication takes a lot of energy. It's a different kind of energy than being in person, where I think it's we build bridges for one another, we create shorthands when we're communicating so that we can just, things happen a little more easily. When it's virtual, whether it's a Zoom call or a telephone call, there's a little more focus on listening and absorbing that information, processing the information that we receive, and of course the necessity that comes along with that to seek clarification when we're not sure. So there's a lot of work we're doing every time we engage virtually. And I don't know, I just want to say for everyone who's doing it, be gentle with yourselves. You know, give yourself a pat on the back for all the work that you're doing, all the really, like, the learning that your brain has had to do, the adjusting that your brain has had to do in a relatively short time. And B, yes, B says, I'd be interested in reading it. Me too. If you want to share that link, that would be great. So what are some of the words that we've heard? Well, maybe I'll start with space. I'll start with the concept. Let's see. Just creating some words for myself. Do I want to write them on there? I'm talking out loud, figuring stuff out. Let's try some stuff. Now, touchstones they don't have to have words. Touchstones can be whatever you want them to be. I think about touchstones a lot this time of year because we'd be preparing to work with PFLAG in their night of an evening of hope. That usually comes up early November. This is around the time we'd be preparing to come together for that night where we remember those that we've lost to homophobia, transphobia, all the phobias, all the fear, all the difficult things. We come together to remember those that we've lost and honor their memories and celebrate what they gave us, even though they're not here with us still. And that night's early November, and we often do touchstones as an activity. So people would come together and create their own stone that reminds them of someone, that represents a thought or a feeling that they'd like to take away with them from the night. We create stones for one another, to lift one another up, to just remind people that we're not alone, that you're not alone, even though sometimes it really feels like you are. And this is also where I forget to spell. Yeah, so touchstones are just a thing, something I think of this time of year. And Shelley, back on the theme of school. Yes, 2 diplomas in 40 years. Congratulations. And due to health issues and COVID, not able to work. You are yeah, Shelley says, I am a survivor of cancer, though. There's a lot going on there that I think you can honor yourself for: the surviving, the studying, the accomplishments, the work. There's a lot of us who can't do what we want to do right now due to COVID. You're not alone in that. It's a moment. It's a momentary break. And yet you still find time to connect with people in your community, to provide that support. I know you have during this time because we've talked about it here with the community before, right? And you're sharing your creativity with people. There's lots that you're doing. I know you're not working. I know you wish you could. But there's so much to honor within yourself. Not that you're not, but just in case you're tempted to downplay everything that you've shared with people, everything you've done for the community and continue to do for the community, including this one, I just want to remind you, you're doing the thing. You're doing the thing. And every time anyone chats or comments here, every time someone tunes in and contributes their energy, you're enriching this process for people that, you might never even meet. We can't always tell. We're not always aware when we've impacted someone's life in that wonderful, positive way. And Shelley, in the weight of hearing from ODSP. That's a process. That's definitely a process. I wish you well with that. And I don't think you're alone in that either. I know there must be a lot of changes happening in those systems right now. We just hang in there. We do what we can. Let's see. And even the systems, hearing from Lottie and this, and knowing that other students are also in similar positions of starting, stopping, going to school for a little day, part of a day. Then next week you're going to go back. There's all these interesting starts and stuff. Like it's like a stutter in all the systems. A stutter that kind of interrupts us in the flow of whatever we used to be able to do so easily. So again, just another really like a gentle reminder from some weird art lady here. Be gentle with yourself. Take care of yourself. Make space for yourself to enjoy what you can along the way of that journey, perhaps. I don't know. How are you enjoying the journey? How are folks enjoying the journey out there? I know there's been many difficulties. But if there are things that you have been enjoying that you'd like to share, please do. Please feel free. And yes, if folks want to contribute to the poem, and again, just in case people are joining us midway through the stream, I'm inviting everyone to share how the virtual studio with the living room has, I don't know, what it's like for you. What it feels like, what you feel you give, what you feel you get. Who are you when you're in this space? How does it provide you? Does it provide you with something? So if you can, one way of doing that is by answering this thought, this sentence, completing this sentence rather. In this space, I am. Or this space is ... This space gives me. This space gives us. There's lots of different ways of answering that. And if you'd like to, just put it in the chat or send it to me in an email, and I will incorporate it into a poem, a written piece that I can share with the virtual Art Hives community this Friday when we connect in a big meeting to reflect on the work we've been doing over the past 6 months. And Shelley saying, ooh, hoo-hoo, yes, some interesting news there. 1,200 cases in Canada of COVID in the school. Be safe indeed. We do what we can, right? I think it's okay to feel anxious wherever you are in the world right now. We're taking some steps to regain some kind of routine, some kind of normal in what we're doing. And for a lot of folks, that's going to school, going back to work, things like that. There's going to be some concern there, and I think doing what you can to keep taking care of yourself. There's only one of you in the world. And when you take care of yourself, you're also taking care of other people too. That's another interesting element of what we're dealing with this virus, right? And let's say, Shelley saying the living room is encouragement, loving understanding, and friendly community. Right back at you. Oh, that's lovely. And is that referring, do you feel like, well, yeah, I guess Shelley, there's some folks who joining us here who've never had a chance to experience the actual space. So that's pretty powerful feedback about how we can still create this environment with one another. That gives me so much hope. So much hope. Thank you. Yeah, so keep sharing those thoughts. Keep sharing. Let me know what you'd like to have added in. And for folks who are listening and don't feel like contributing to the chat or participating in that way, you are also welcome here today. Thank you for being here. Thanks for spending time with us and contributing to that creative energy. And now, some coloring. Let's see. whenever I'm making anything, of course, touchstones included, cutout poetry included. If you're making some at home, remember it only needs to make sense to you. And if you're sharing something, for me that's always the most important piece. Does it make sense to you? Do you feel like it holds truth that speaks to your heart, to your experience? Make sure that you know that it feels right for you. And Lottie saying, oh, that's right. Lottie says, my town has just been put on a local lockdown because cases in the UK, especially in the north of England where you're from, are rising. But schools are still open and Lottie is still able to go to university, which is amazing. That's so amazing. And I know I've been keeping an eye on some of the news there. It's, I think we're all in similar places, and what we might be seeing happening in towns like yours, Lottie, I'm sure will certainly soon be happening to us again. Just because that's, virus doesn't care. Virus is virus. Virus does its thing, and it's good at doing its thing. So when we take these steps to try and get back to normal, to do what we need to do to move forward, there's going to be breakouts like that. And I hope everyone in your town, Lottie, I hope they're feeling safe. I hope folks are understanding and being respectful and still managing to keep their sense of humor and compassion with one another. That can be a difficult thing sometimes, but we're thinking of you. We're definitely thinking of you. And Shelley says, I have been in the living room twice. Oh, that's right. That's right. And nervous both times. But online just makes me want to come into the living room when open. They were so good to our children when we took them, and I want to come back. Oh, well, that's so good to know. There were so many groups that used to come into the living room. That is true. And we will do what we can. I don't think there's going to be some new interesting stuff happening with the studio, Shelley. And I can't wait to share it with people. That's coming soon. I'll have an update for everyone about what's happening. And hopefully what it means is that we will be able to connect with people sooner rather than later. It'll just look very different, right? It'll look a little different. Okay. And having groups of kids in the studio was always so interesting. That any youthful energy, and as an oldie person, I feel like that can be so many different things. It's also new ideas, new ways of looking at the world, new ways of appreciating things. But children, especially little children, always bring that. They never fail to inspire new waves of creativity in spaces like the studio. And Sandra saying, got to go. And I will see you on Friday morning. Sandra, have a wonderful day. Take care of yourself. I'm not sure if I can make it to the coffee chat tomorrow because I've got some studio business that I have to do. But I'm going to do my best, even just to drop in and say hello. Have a wonderful day, Sandra. Thinking of you. Keep taking care of yourself. And B saying, I would argue that a sense of humor is key to building a note. Yes. A resilient self. I think humor... What does humor allow us to do with regards to resiliency? Because I totally agree. Humor plays a really specific role, doesn't it? But perhaps it utilized differently by folks. I think for me, the ability to laugh at myself is always something that's really important. To be able to laugh at myself on my own terms, I should say. To be able to appreciate the things, to be able to laugh at the things that I can't always control. Kind of laughter brings things down to size a little bit, doesn't it? I don't know. And then of course a sense of humor isn't always about, I think it can be a way of recognizing the absurdity in a situation as well, right? I don't know. What role does humor play in resiliency? I turn it over to you. What role does humor play in resiliency? Because I know there's been moments here, and even in this live stream, there's been days where I've laughed until I've cried. Unexpectedly, too. Particularly on days where I feel perhaps where I was not expecting that laughter would be a part of the experience. Days where I anticipated perhaps more tears than laughter. I don't know. Oh, and Shelley saying, I have a bag of things for the living room and a printer. Can't wait to be able to drop them off. Well, you know what? We'll figure out a day to do that. We're still accepting donations. We have a hope in the new year, depending on some funding that we've applied for. We'd actually, if the funding comes through, we'll be taking some time to create workshop kits and basically bring little bits of the studio to people who can't make it out to the studio. So it's like studio to you kind of experience. So materials and supplies of all different kinds of natures will still be very welcome in donations. Interesting. That works. I think the donation piece has always been such a huge part of why the studio succeeds, actually. It helps, obviously, it helps things like keeping costs down, but it's, you know, the heart of the sharing economy, the idea that we can find value in one another, but we can also find value in the things, the bits and pieces that maybe aren't needed anymore. What, you know, one person's trash is another's treasure, I suppose. But when that piece, that article, that like item, the tool that you have that doesn't inspire you anymore, the thing you thought you'd never make art with, in someone else's hands becomes something extraordinary. Again, just like that piece about children as well, right? Children are always such great teachers when it comes to making art and what can be made into art. They're fantastic teachers in that way. And B says, would love to create some art from home kits and run a little workshop online. Yep, we're super, like that's part of the process too, looking at ways we can expand this virtual programming. And yeah, we're working on it. Fingers crossed. And depending, you know what, even if funding doesn't come through, we'll figure out something. We'll find a way. We usually do. That's part of that creative power, that power of being an artist or owning your artist self. When one thing doesn't work the way you wanted it to, there's usually something else that you can, well, that one thing that didn't work usually becomes something else. Unexpected creation, accidental art. And then, I can't remember who I was talking to about this most recently, but that idea of it's amazing what we can create when we don't necessarily have a lot to create with. Artists will create. Oh, I remember. I think I was talking about this with Danny Crosby's community collaboration class, actually. And I know we've touched upon this theme before, too. That sense of if you're a creator, if you enjoy making things, regardless of what exactly it is that you enjoy making, you will find a way to make it. So even if the materials you love or prefer to work with are taken from you or disappear somehow or are used up, you will still find a way to create. You'll find something else around you that you can create with, that you can express yourself with. There will always be something that can be made. If someone's paints are taken away, they will, we'll draw with whatever we have on hand. We'll make art with whatever we find in our drawers or whatever we find in the street sometimes. Angel, one of our community members, Angel, is a fantastic example of that. Someone who I don't think I've ever seen use a traditional fine art supply. Even though they're available and he's always interested in them, he's drawn to creating art with the world's oddness, I guess is one way of putting it. And that includes natural pieces, like trash day is a fantastic day for Angel because he will find the oddest bits and pieces, like, and just put them together in the most beautiful ways, or create on them, use them to create. And you're right, Shelley, you're right. Like a simple baby food jar can be a tea light, or a praise jar, a wishing well. Interesting, a wishing well. Is that like a jar that holds in, like you can put your wishes, your hopes, your dreams, your thoughts into? An encouragement jar, exactly. And yeah, B saying, I've done calligraphy pieces on scraps of receipt paper. Yeah. On a Sharpie or with a Sharpie. Yeah, you don't necessarily need fancy supplies. I think that's one of the things I love most, actually, about repurposing and recycling, upcycling, whatever you'd like to call it. And sometimes it's easier, it becomes simpler to create when you have fewer options, if that makes sense. Like, if that's all you have, things become clearer somehow. Oh, I think I was talking to Emily about this as well, that idea that sometimes not having a lot of options can just focus that creative energy, the impulse to communicate something. So it's less about the materials and more about what is this thing that I want to communicate? What am I saying? And it doesn't matter what you have to work with. You will say what you want to say. It's just giving space, making space for that. And sometimes we can get distracted by stuff. At least I know that. I mean, I feel that. Yeah, distracted by stuff. I mean, that's one of the ways you end up opening an art studio, by having stuff. But you don't need stuff. Because, and I've said this a million times before, so you can say it along with me if you like, or just turn down the volume if you're sick of hearing it. What makes you an artist isn't the materials you have on hand. It's not the technique you may or may not have acquired. What makes you an artist is you, your stories, your thoughts, your vision, how you experience the world. What is it that you want to say, and how do you want to say it? You are the only person who can do what you need to do, say what you need to say in the way that you want or need to say it. So that's what makes you an artist. Not whether you've been to school, not whether or not you've, perfected a certain way of doing something. Hey, Carlos, welcome! Oh, Lottie contributing to the poem. Okay, let's see. Lottie says, in this space, I connect with others, network with other people, socializing in the comfort of my own home. In this space, I go worldwide. Just sat in my own living room, creating new friendships. In this space, I get inspired. Food for thought for my own projects, discovering more ways to be creative. In this space, I'm free to share my work, receiving feedback and building my confidence, helping me to become a better writer. Awesome. Thank you, Lottie. Folks, this poem is going to be epic. I am so excited. And Carlos saying, yay to stuff. For those of us, yes, no shame in having stuff. No shame. No shame in not having stuff. No shame in wanting to share your stuff or use your stuff or let go of stuff or to create new stuff. No shame. I got stuff. Oh, yeah. Take that as you will. And Shelley saying, old magazines can help with visual goal setting. Yep. Help you stay motivated. I love, again, that collage piece, that idea of, that's also borrowing from other artists as well, isn't it? Because whenever we use images from a magazine, we are using other artists' work and weaving it into our own story. Tapping into something about how it resonates with us to repurpose its image for our own use, our own communications. And Carlos says, stuff leads to stories. Okay, I like this. Stories lead to memories. Memories lead to more creativity. That's lovely. Or Carlos says something wiser. I sounded more like I want to be Yoda in that last comment. I think that was perfect, Carlos. I think that was just perfect. That's brilliant. And Lottie's saying, oops, the layout went a bit wrong in the typing. I know Facebook isn't very friendly to shaping language on the page. But if there's something specific about how you want it to be presented, please feel free to copy and paste it, and you can email it to the living room at info@livingroomcommunityartstudio.org. That's info@livingroomcommunityartstudio.org. I didn't think when I created the name for this business, I did not think that would be an exhausting email to have to type in every time you want to type it in, so my apologies. But if you would like to share your writing in a specific way with us, please feel free to email it there. Or you can snap a picture of it and share it as well if it's already written out. For those of you who might be joining us through the stream, we are creating together a poem. We are answering the questions in this space, the virtual living room community art studio space that we share and create together every week. In this space, I am ... Fill in that blank. Or this space is, this space means ... This space makes me, this space is, whatever you want to answer that question about. What is this space? What is it to you? What is it to all of us? What are we in this space together? And all these pieces I will put together in a poem that I can share with the National Art Hives Network in a gathering we're having this Friday celebrating virtual art hive spaces. Because I was trying to think of how I would demonstrate what this is and what we do and why it matters. And I think that might be the easiest way to really get to the heart of something with your words so that I can introduce them to folks that are here in some small way. So please feel free to answer that question and share your thoughts with me. Share that little snippet of poetry with me, whatever it might look like. And we'll make it happen. And B saying, oh yes, so this is about Carlos and Carlos's adventures. Your stories of your late night skunk friend on your walks have inspired some of my creative pursuits, B says. It's pretty rad, pal. Yes. So each one of us, again, that goes back to the creative expression, and Facebook has been used by a lot of us to express ourselves creatively, and Carlos, no exception there. I think yes, anyways, there's lots there, but I'm loving the different kinds of creativity I'm seeing coming out of this shared experience, this shared global experience. How are we connecting? How are we making meaning of what we're experiencing? How are we staying connected in spite of not being able to see one another or meet one another in some cases as often as we like? And I agree, Carlos. So just some lovely acknowledgements of Lottie's writing there, and Carlos saying, I agree with this, that it resonated. Thanking Lottie for sharing it. It resonated, it did. It's beautiful. And this is exciting. This kind of stuff, like looking how everyone's connecting. And hello, Amanda. Welcome. Amanda hanging out with us as well today. That's lovely. And Carlos, so a little explanation. Carlos is sharing here just about these late night walks and these explorations of, maybe Carlos can explain this better than I can, but your environment, I suppose. And this friend you've made in Skunk-a-Nancy. So for those who don't know, here's a little explanation from Carlos. Skunk-a-Nancy is Carlos's little skunk pal that he sees regularly when he goes out for evening walks. She's so awesome and oddly at ease around him from a safe distance. Yes, that's skunks are lovely. They're lovely, but safety first. Safety first. What am I doing here? What am I doing? This one. I'm going to go with an image on this one instead of a word for my touchstone. Might take up everything. Well, and Carlos, the poetry idea sounds beautiful, and please, you're welcome to contribute. I would love for everyone to contribute as much as you can. We might end up with an epic poetry adventure, and that's okay. I think I have 5 to 7 minutes to share, but I will keep going. And maybe it's something that we can even write out, compile, so we can share an image of the poem as well once it's finished. So I'll keep you posted. And of course, you folks will share it with you too. And I love that this has happened. I love that it's only taken me 6 months to invite you into a collaboration. Only 6 months. Where has my brain been? And I just thank you for hanging out and contributing, regardless of how you're contributing. It's a beautiful thing, gathering here with you. Oh, wow. We are coming close to the end again. I've gotten into getting into a bad habit. It's just a thing. I love hanging out here. But I have gotten into a habit of hanging in a little longer. But I know that folks can't stay the whole time. And that's okay. If you jump in for a few minutes at a time, that's great. If you visit and spend the whole afternoon here, that's fantastic. But if you'd prefer just to sit back, dip in out whenever you can, whenever you want, maybe even watch it after it's archived, that's all right. This time is here for you and however you want to use it. So thank you to everyone who's joined us today so far, everyone who's participated in the chat, everyone who's shared their poetry with us, answering that question about this space. Whatever this is, what are we creating together? What does this time we share together mean? What does it look like to you? How would we describe it to other people if we had to? And while that might not ever exactly replace being together physically with one another, I think it's pretty powerful. And even when we do have an opportunity to have a physical space and connect with one another in person again, I think that I'll still maintain this. I think this will still be an important part of what we do. And let's see, Shelley's saying again, and Wendy with some hearts, another face, and an emoji. How would we describe that emoji? I don't know. Let me know, folks, if you have an opinion about that. A little smiley face with hearts popping up around. Shelley's saying, it is a place that you can be safe no matter where you are from or what you do or how you live. No one is different, and no one needs to be afraid to be unique. Folks, you're blowing me away in the best possible of ways. There is some beautiful, beautiful stuff happening. How honored I am. What an exceptional community. Again, what a privilege it is for me to be able to gather with you folks here every week. It's such a privilege. I am so very grateful. Oh, I like that. I get focused on words sometimes, and I love using words, and of course this was a day where I've been thinking about poetry an awful lot. But I always come back to the heart. I always come back to the heart for some reason. And when given a chance, sometimes the simplest things say it the best. Yeah. I know the light's kind of glaring off them a little bit. Let's see. Some of the things I've created today. And Shelley's saying, Mary, it's because of you I can take a break from my severe anxiety, even for a short time. Wowzas. You know what? I see some other comments there. Oh my goodness, so I'll get back to them. I got caught up in my own world there for a moment. But Shelley, I'm going to gently challenge that. I think it's because of you. You're the one doing the work. Everyone who's here, and we each one of us have our own bag of hammers that we're dealing with, that we're doing our very best to cope with during these really strange and interesting times. But I want you to remember that you are the one doing the work. And this people coming together and knowing one another, being able to see one another, recognize, acknowledge one another, hear one another in all the many little ways. I think this is a beautiful add-on, but you were the one doing the work. You're the one taking care of yourself and prioritizing your own self-care, reaching out and connecting and taking that risk, allowing yourself to be seen and heard, making your voice heard. That's an extraordinary thing. So again, not the boss of you. And I take that. I do. I'm holding on to that loveliness. But I want you to be able to pat yourself on the back, to recognize that you are doing that. And everyone else who's here, every time you contribute, you are doing that work. Just honor yourselves on that journey if you can. If you're not, maybe you are, and that's fine. Just saying. So I'm just going to skip back and see some comments here. And Amanda, I miss hanging out. Oh, I miss hanging out with you at the studio, Mary. I miss that too, Amanda. I miss you too. How are you doing? How are you doing? It's been a long time since we've connected. No, it's not always easy, everything that's going on out there, but never far from my thoughts. I'm thinking about everyone. And I've been going over a lot of the pictures from the last 7 years of being in the studio space, and just seeing everyone's faces. Maybe I'll put together a little collage for folks to look at, but just what a wonderful journey, all the relationships we've built up over time. So I'm sending you big hugs, big love. And Carlos saying, oh, the space is akin to sitting with friends at a coast and watching the sunset over the lake. It's calming and beautiful and connective. It also gives hope at the coming day, whilst also acknowledging where we're at. It's calming, beautiful, connecting with people and environment, and sharing a common experience through different eyes, and sharing that perception to add to our own experience. Oh boy. Thank you, Carlos. Lovely. Yes, please, everyone, continue after this thread, even after this live stream. I'll post on Facebook. I'd love for people to continue sharing what you think. And Amanda, you too, because you drop into these places as well. They hang out with us a little bit during the virtual art hives we have every Wednesday. What is this space? What do we do here? In this space, who are you? What does this space mean to you? So you can fill in the blanks and you're like, in this space, I am. In this space, we are. This space is. Whatever, however you'd like to answer it and describe it for other folks out there. He's lovely. Carlos, that totally makes sense. Thank you. And let's see. I know I agree, Lottie. What Carlos wrote is lovely. Oh, and Amanda saying seeing you helps your seeing me helps your depression. Oh, wow. I would again. There's a lot of Facebook love out there. I would again, just like with Shelley, being able to reach out and connect and even join this and hang out with us for a little while is something that you're doing. So anyone who's joining us and taking that step out of their comfort zone, maybe taking a moment to prioritize some time for yourself to do something you enjoy, and that doesn't have to be this either, but you are also helping yourself through that. So, and that, you know what, it's seeing one another somehow, even if it's virtually seeing one another, it's helpful. It definitely helps me and helps support my mental health, absolutely. And yes, and all the tears I cry here are definitely happy tears. I love a good cry, and the Public Crying League is definitely a thing, folks. It's definitely a thing. And I'm glad. If I can put a smile on anyone's face, that's something. I take that. And believe me, everyone here puts a smile on my face. Everyone. Do I have time to make one more touchstone? Maybe. Oh, maybe I'll do a brighter one. That's it. I'm going to go for it, folks. A few minutes left. Thank you to everyone who has contributed today. Thank you for everyone who's contributed to the poem that we're working out. Thank you for everyone who's dropped by and said hello. Thank you to everyone who's just watched and hung out with us, had us on in the background while you're making art or you're doing other things, sitting by a river somewhere. I am so happy that you're here. I'm so grateful that you've taken time to join us. It means a lot to me, obviously, but today has reminded me just about the power of connecting, even if it's virtual. Just the very act of reaching out to seek connection can be rewarding, it can be beautiful, it can be fulfilling, inspiring, it can be funny. It can be sad. It's allowed. But we're still here for one another. That fills me with hope. That hope helps me know that I'm going to be okay. And I hope even just a little bit that knowing that we can share this together, that it helps fill you. It helps fill you with a kind of okayness, helps you feel a little bit better. And you know what? Maybe inspires you to reach out and connect with other folks that perhaps you haven't connected with in a while. You can do this too, folks, right? You know that. You can host a live stream. You can invite some friends to hang out in a Facebook room. There's lots of different ways to connect. Oh, and B saying, I've been writing little bits of wisdom for the zine project and a short article about hope for your project too. See, okay, when that happens, B, I'd love, if you feel up to it, if you could share it. I'd love that. I'm going to keep everyone updated about that zine. I think there's a lot of folks out there that would love to have a copy. And maybe, who knows, maybe we can do a zine exchange. Maybe there's a way to do that. I have to research how to do that. Yeah. And do like kind of, if there's a way that, like maybe a P.O. box or something like that where we can all make zines and send them to. We'll work on it. We'll figure something out. Let's see. That's interesting. I glued that one on first. So I'll cut this out, my last touchstone of today's session. Folks, thank you so much for hanging out with me. And I can't wait until the next time we can do this again. There'll be another live stream artist chat on Tuesday over on Instagram. And we'll be back here next Wednesday for another live stream art hangout. What do we have happening here? Let's see. Might be a little hard to see there. And in the meantime, I want to encourage everyone to keep writing, keep creating, keep making, keep connecting with one another. You're worth it. And if there are folks out there who would like to connect but don't necessarily feel comfortable connecting in this kind of public way, feel free to email me or message. I can't always get back to everyone right away, but I'll do my best. And we'll figure out how to do this together. There we go. My little stones. And then Shelley says, Mary, Carlos, Lottie, B, Anthony, you are all amazing. And everyone who is a part of this wonderful community. There you go. Shelley, what a wonderful thing. I think that's a fantastic way, a fantastic note to leave today off on. How amazing everyone is, because that's the truth. Don't ever forget it, folks. Don't ever forget it. Even on those darkest, ugliest of days you might experience, that we all experience. You make this world a more interesting place. And each one of you and what you have to say and share with and create with one another matters. And that's that, I suppose. You matter. You guys are awesome. And Carlos One says, thanks so much, Mary. This was an awesome as always. Thanks to everyone for the connection and sharing, whether that was in the chat or just, this is a perfect way to wrap things up, Carlos. Thank you. Thanks for everyone for the connection and sharing, whether that was in chat or just observing. You're so valid and so important. I hope you feel that. And if you can't at the moment, take that comment and either put it in your pocket for later or pass it on. Either way, you're all magnificent works of stupendous arts. I agree. And on that note, I think I will say thank you to everyone who spent time with us today. What Carlos said. I'll see you again soon, folks. Enjoy the rest of this week. Until we can connect and create with one another again in person, I look forward to connecting and creating with you again soon, online. See you soon, folks. Mwah. Bye.